silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn, because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Simply curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn, because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Everywhere I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve.
Good morning, Robertson County. How you doing? This is 1100 WSGI, one street over. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and welcome to it. Welcome to Mary and Rebecca Friday before Christmas. Oh my goodness, freak out because you don't have your shopping done, right? I'm sitting here with this is my new preacher. Michael Ross is in the house, and you have no idea how excited I am to have him here. This is so much fun because, I tell everybody in Robertson County, I've been a part of the Madison Church of Christ since 1989. My husband and I were living in Hendersonville. Okay. And we had married in 88. And we were looking for a congregation. And we stumbled upon Gallatin Road and Old Hickory Boulevard, because he grew up Catholic and I grew up CFC. Okay. Church of Christ, went to Lipscomb. I'm a graduate of Lipscomb. And so that naturally is where I gravitated, but he was wanting to see everything, So we were on that journey, and we found Madison. And the thing that drew us there, Michael, was the way that they were so involved in the community. Right. Hands and feet of Jesus, incredible. And that's what drew us there. And we got set there before we moved to Springfield. And we tried, kind of going around local, but our kids were a good pasture. Right. We had all the connections in Madison, and I was working, and I've always been a commuter to Nashville, and doing radio up there, and so we just never really made that connection here, and that's just always been our family. So I tease everybody here because I've got some churches I work with, Epiphany Baptist up here with CR and all that. Okay. I work on Tuesday night, and I said, y'all are my family, but my crazy cousins live up here in Robertson County, right?
That's exactly right.
We have fun. But welcome to it. And y'all may have heard, I was explaining to Michael how this radio station, this is the English side. We have the Spanish side. This is a Christian broadcast facility. Okay. And so it's worldwide. When we go to Mexico, when we go to Baja, we can listen.
Awesome.
Yeah. And good. Paul Rainey's on here listening. And one of our
morning, Paul. I know Paul.
Yeah. Everybody says whenever I sign on, if Paul Rainey's not on here, they're like, well, where's Paul? We don't even know it.
Right. Where's Paul?
Every morning. We appreciate you. So this is Faith Friday. And I have just, I've only had a few people from Madison, and Nate's been here before. And, just different ones. Nate, our wonderful youth minister, after his cancer battle, we came in and told his story, and it was powerful. But so we just from time to time like to check in with the folks across the county border up there and just see what's going on, because it is my family.
Right.
I'm one of those that I came from Kentucky. My husband came from Michigan. When we landed here, I mean, we didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
And I had twins right out of the gate, man. My first kids were twins, so I needed help.
That's it.
So they're my people.
Right.
They're my people. So
excellent.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Good. I'm awake.
Are you not an early person?
I'm up early, but that doesn't mean I'm an early person. I've had one cup of coffee and I need another one, and I almost brought one in and I changed my mind. You know how that works.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm the same way. And God has always drawn me into doing early. I've had to get up dark 30 my whole life, and I am not a morning person either. I am not. And but it's like God's little joke. It's like, get up.
That's right.
I got things for you to do. So I had a feeling you were an early bird, but
but that doesn't mean I'm ready to go anywhere. I would much rather sit in my recliner and drink a cup of coffee, watch a little Andy Griffith, get the morning rolling on the right foot. So
I love Andy Griffith. Yeah. We believe that Springfield is Mayberry.
Okay.
It is growing in leaps and bounds, but it has got a Mayberry quality. Yeah. I was just, oh my goodness, it's so wonderful. But so Michael Ross is the new preacher at the Madison Church of Christ. And when did you join us? I forget.
August 13th, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. And we are just so excited by the energy that you're bringing in to the congregation. We're so excited for you to be there, you and Carrie and the kids. And tell us, how many kids do you have?
We have 8.
8.
8 children.
And do you have any fosters right now, or
nope.
Are they all adopted?
Nope. All are ours, every one of them.
How many have you adopted?
5.
5. For those of us who always are trying to say, okay, what do you want me to do, God? And then we see people like you and Carrie that adopt children and love on children. It just takes our breath away. That is, I don't know if I study all the stuff, the hermeneutics of Scripture and all this. And I know that one of the studies I was doing saying one of the things that made Christians unique during the time of the early church, one of the things was how they would adopt the abandoned children. Because it was a pagan thing. If you had a child that wasn't perfect, then you put them in the field.
Yeah.
And people would go through there and find children that were worth adopting and make them slaves, and others would take them in and make them family. And the Christians would come in and make them family. Yeah. That was something very unique to early Christians, and for you to answer that call on your life so beautifully is breathtaking. And it is, there's nothing bigger than taking care of these kids. My gosh, I just love that. But yeah.
Well
done.
We've always they're just all ours. We don't separate them out into who's adopted, who's not. They're just ours. And so there's literally no difference in any of them. And just love to do it. And honestly, we'd probably still have more kids if we could. It's just the way it is. Yeah. James 1:27, the pure, undefiled religion, take care of widows and orphans and those in their distress. I think that's important. I think we miss that. Yeah. It's part of the history of Madison, though, too, which is a really kind of a cool history with, the children's homes that were there years ago and kind of that heart that is there. And there are several people that we've met at Madison, Stephanie Rotan and her work with the 2 boys she brought, I believe, from Honduras. Jose and Ullman, what great kids. They're just awesome. And so I think that heart is still part of Madison, which was, in looking at this was one of the things that kind of drew us here, was just knowing that history and knowing that there are people who still believe in that and believe in serving those who are in need. So it's kind of exciting. Very good.
It just absolutely, when I first heard about you guys and got to know a little bit about your family, I just was like, yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, because it is so much what we have been called to do. And
right.
With
the exit will be garden gate 10.
Now, what? Make sure that's off there. But for those of us who are just constantly trying to find our way, and it's like, what is the call that God has on our life? And I have a friend of mine that works with United Way, and we call them the bridge builders to the nonprofits. And Tiffany Thompson, she was in yesterday. She's one of those that just volunteers everywhere, and they're a CASA.
Yeah.
And you know what CASA? Court appointed special advocate. It's a advocate that goes in and works with children in the foster system to be their advocate, this person. So when it's somebody that can always be there for the kids.
Right.
And so she was telling me about a family. We talked about you yesterday. That's what I'm unpacking here. But she was telling me about a woman who has 4 foster kids, and they won't let her have any more. And so now that she's like, well, I'm going to be a CASA. And so this is, a woman she was describing to me that's like, what else can I do? And you and Carrie strike me as that couple. Yeah. And I just, that's such a unique quality. And we're just glad you're there.
Well, it's really interesting you mentioned that. I mean, I work with Agape in Nashville as well, which is just one of the great places around that continue to look at, families, vulnerable kids, domestic violence. I mean, there's just so many ways in which people can serve. And so connecting churches that way. And I think that, through a couple of things that Agape and Madison, the Church of Grace, has been connected for quite a while as well. So, I mean, there's just so many ways, I think, to get connected and to do those things. And lots of places are working and trying to find ways to make sure that just people, but really kids, are taken care of. And that's just one of those things that just pulls on our hearts all the time.
Well, and as we're watching the things, that's been the thing that with Madison being an older congregation, and I think churches across the nation are dealing with this.
Sure.
That I don't know. I mean, I'm dealing with a child that has stepped away from faith, and my 4 boys, and I've got one, and that just, I don't know what happened. I mean, part of me does, because I kind of went on a journey myself.
Sure.
And it's that journey of doubting and just the wrong pieces being in place at the time to where it just kind of led you down the wrong road. And I just know with all my heart, God's going to get hold of him. But trying to make sure that the generations coming behind us understand the necessity of the local church.
Yep.
That's what I don't know how people do it without the community they have within their congregation. I don't.
Oh, yeah,
how do you do life?
It's extended family.
Yeah.
It just is in ways that people don't quite understand sometimes. I just that extended family, and my wife Carrie is the second oldest of 8 biological children, and her parents have adopted children as well, and so that extended family is really huge. And so when we all get together at Christmas, when everybody's there's 75 or 80 people,
wow.
Stuffed into a house, and so when you think about extended family, then you multiply that with church family and everything else, and I mean our family is just huge. And so I mean somebody yesterday said, "How many kids you have? 37?" No, we don't have quite 37, but I mean that's what we do. And so the church is such a big part of that extended family, and being able to connect. And a great story about that, when we first moved here, my daughter's at Ezel Harding Christian School in Antioch, and so it was Grandparents' Day. Well, we had been here for a month, maybe 2 months. We didn't have any family here. Carrie has some brothers here, so there's some aunts and uncles, but there's no grandparents. Right. John and Barbara Broadway stepped up, and they just... We're gonna be her grandparents. So they got up, they came to our house early. We drove down to Ezel Harding. They spent the day with Macy as her grandparents, and now they've adopted our family as Grandma and Grandpa, John and Barbara. I mean, that's how it is. And with things like we take care of our own, and so we're going to love on you and we're going to care for you. And so that's part of that extended family as well that really makes a difference. And I think you said the same thing when you were searching, you didn't have family, boom, it was the church that kind of filled that. And I think we miss that aspect sometimes. And, so Wednesday night, we just did family Christmas night. We didn't sing church songs. We didn't have a devotion. but we were together, and there's so much power in just being together and getting to know people and having that sense of family beyond sitting in a church pew in an auditorium. I mean, those are the things that make church special, and I'm hoping that we can continue to build that. So,
well, it's so funny, the stuff you're doing on Wednesday night. Those of us who are involved with Celebrate Recovery, which is just I can't say enough.
Oh, absolutely.
About how what a change it's made in my life. And it's like, we want to be both places so bad. It was so funny. My friend Muriel, she's in leadership with CR. And so we had some little ones we had to watch. And so she was watching the little ones upstairs. And I'm like, you got to go upstairs and hang out with the family up there. But you know, we just wish we could be in. Well, don't you wish you could just be in five places?
I absolutely. All the time. All the time. Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I can't. I can't speak without my hands moving. So.
Just don't bang on it. But no, it's so funny because I know Muriel. She had fun.
Yeah.
Up there with the kiddos.
Yep.
And we've got just such an amazing family, and we invite you to be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gallatin Road and Old Hickory Boulevard, hands down. I was a traffic reporter for 28 years. Trust me, one of the busiest intersections in Nashville. Cannot say enough about that crossroads.
Right.
And with that congregation being right there, God's got plans for that.
Yep.
And that's one of the things, because I was full-time at the church before they drew me into the classroom. And I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did know that.
I was there for about 7 years.
Yep.
And I still am just really, really part-time, but with Celebrate Recovery and then doing mission stuff down in Baja. Man, I just can't. Our Baja family.
Yeah.
Just, oh my gosh. We want to take you to Baja with
Well,
us.
I've heard stories and yeah.
Man, the Rainies go every year. Yeah. And you know, it's just the way you make connections, guys. The reason why the Rainies ended up in Mexico is because I was working at the Benevolent Center with Terry.
Okay.
With Meals on Wheels, and they would come in and cook. And they started asking me about, we are going to Mexico. We think we want to do that. And that friend, I can't begin to tell you the wonderful friendship we've developed because of, and I've gone to church with them since I started there, but I knew them, but I didn't know them. And then you started working together and you know, getting your hands dirty together, and you build those relationships that are just priceless. I mean, I just can't say enough about the relationships I've built in community like that. It's just awesome.
Well, Wally tells the best stories about Baja. In case, Wally Hooper, the man, his professional name is Wallace Hooper. One of my favorites. He's just, I mean, from day one, just was just kind of one of those. You're already family, and but yeah, I love the stories of his trips to Baja. He tells the best ones, I think.
Tell you about the Road Runner.
Yes, he told us about the Road Runner.
I have the Road Runner. The man, he gets the thing stuck. He gets the van stuck. He's driving the van, and he decides he's going to take a shortcut. Well, he drove out across the drive riverbed, bottomed out the van, had to walk out. There's so many more. I could totally drag the story out to a 10-minute story, but bottom line is he locked the van, but didn't roll up the windows. So when they got there to pull it out, there was a Road Runner in the van, and we have video, and it's priceless.
Great stories.
You need to tell you about him going on the campaign trail with me, because I ran for Congress.
Oh, okay, that's the next story. Okay, I've got to find that out. Yeah, absolutely.
He wanted to help me. He goes, I'll take you places, and I mean, I can't begin to tell you because I had no money. And I got talked into running, and it opened up all kinds of doors.
Oh, sure.
It opened up all kinds of doors, but I didn't do very well. But if it hadn't been for somebody like Wally helping me, there's no way I could have done it.
Right.
And yeah, he was on the campaign trail with me. So we're dear friends. We're dear friends. And,
great guy.
Great guy. He's a nut, but he's fun. We're talking with Michael Ross. He is the new preacher at Madison Church of Christ. And if you've listened at all, you know that is my congregation. That's my family. I've been there since 1989 and have been through all the stuff, you know. And I tell people talk about, because I've got so many friends that are somewhere else now. And,
right.
But we're all still family, and what they're doing is good. It's all beautiful and it's all good. I just know that where God wants me is where I'm at,
right? Because
I don't know. That's just where He put us when we had a great need in our life, and I can't ever forget that. You know?
Oh yeah.
And it's just a special place. It's just a special place, and I just can't say enough about it. I'm excited. I mean, what would you tell people if they're going, oh, Madison Church of Christ? What would be the elevator speech? What would you tell them?
The elevator speech?
Yeah. What would you
Man,
tell
I've
them?
not really thought about the elevator speech.
Come see us because boom.
Because we are excited about putting Jesus into a dark world.
Oh yeah.
We all have issues. We all have struggles. We're all dealing with very similar stuff, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
And when we put Jesus in the middle of it, it makes all the difference in the world. And that's what we want to do. We may not be your cup of tea in some areas, and that's okay. We have all kinds of differences. But the beauty is we all believe in God who sent Jesus to die for our sins, and we want to bring him into people's lives. Come help us do it. Come help us be a part of that. And looking at our community and how do we shine that light? How do we shine the light? And the more people we have coming together to shine the light, the brighter that light is, and the more it has the opportunity to change people. So I think that we've looked at church as, I think for so long the church has been a place, and we all did it. I mean, think about it. I mean, I even do it. I talk about, we did the corner of, Old Hickory and Gallatin. There's the place, but what makes it is the people who are in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we've kind of missed. Sometimes we talk about the place a whole lot, but it's really about the people. And God is doing a work in people's lives. If you just listen, if you talk, I think God is always moving. Even if people don't know it, if you talk to them long enough, I think you can see God working. And I think that's where we have an opportunity to make a difference. Is just come watch him work. Come watch him work. So
that's what drew us to Madison. Again, it was just, that's where we found so much work going on.
Yeah.
And I think, having the benevolent center there and just working with the homeless community and just all the things, because of where we are located, there's just, you can't imagine the things that go on within that parking lot and in that
absolutely.
space. And from the homeless community to just people that are broken, that are just looking and they've seen that place and they're like, well, I hear a church is a place to, we had a homeless woman, I won't share names, but that came upon us many years ago and became such a part of our benevolence center. She has since passed. And just, she was drawn to the place first, and then the people. Then she got to know the people, and she became such a part of our family that it literally broke our hearts when we lost her. And I mean, it's just, I can't say enough about finding that body to be a part of and plugging into.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just think, we had the other day a biker Christian gang who set up on the back of the parking lot and gave away toys. I mean, those are just the kinds of things that just make an impact in people's lives that maybe you don't know what that is. But and that's one thing that I found about Madison is there's such a welcoming spirit of, we want to help you help. Yeah. I mean, it's open that way. And I love that. That is such a good spirit to have. And there's just so many things going on. I think of all the things I've been involved with since I've been, we did a Christmas party for the Tennessee School for the Blind. What an awesome night. I mean, you would have not, wouldn't think, okay, well, it's not going to be a big deal, but oh my goodness, it was a huge deal. And it's just those kinds of things that the opportunities that are always there. One of the things I've been trying to do is, and maybe this is a futile activity, is take all the activities that the church is involved in and kind of, put those into this. A couple of years ago, the elders put out that mission, share the good news and transform lives. And there's 8 wheels and spokes, and trying to plug all of those activities into one of those areas. Well, every time I think I have it together, somebody says, "Did you know about?" I had no clue we were doing that one. So then I almost have to scrap it and start over. But the reality is there are a number of outlets for people to be involved in. And part of that now is, all right, let's bring all of that together and involve as many people as possible, because the more people we get involved, the better it is, the bigger it can be. And granted, everything's not for everyone. I get that. And I'm okay with that because people, I think you had mentioned, people need to kind of find their niche, kind of find where do you serve best? Where is it that you're going to make the most difference? Where is God leading you? And that's not involved in everything. But then there are so many people, even in our church, are saying, how do I fit? Where do I fit? And we want to help them fit. We want to help them fit into that place where Jesus shines through them into the world they live in.
I tell people all the time, I said, if you're having a hard time, my friend that was in here yesterday from United Way, she's a deeply spiritual person. And we just talk all the time about if you're, find something to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And if you don't know what it is, pray about it.
Absolutely.
He will clearly show you. And I just, in a good place to start is in a church. And Madison has been known for many decades of being a place that just does good. And they just are constantly, and I mean, we've always gotten it right. I mean, but I mean, I don't know any congregation that has.
No.
But they're constantly discerning and trying to do better.
Right.
And that's all you can do. And I mean, some of the things, we have a huge Hispanic ministry.
Absolutely.
Dennis
is great.
Oh my gosh, he's such a blessing. Has he told you the story about his dream and the colors?
No.
You need to have him tell you about that.
I will ask him that.
Ask him
Absolutely.
that. It's a great story about how because he was looking for a place.
Right.
And just get him to tell you the story because it's really breathtaking. It really is just beautiful. And we've just it's just so many wonderful things going on. And one of the wonderful things going on is something that I didn't know we were doing. We're doing Christmas Eve. Tell him about that real quick. Because it's already 7:30.
Yo, that's all right.
We'll run
No.
So what's going on with us Christmas Eve? I didn't know we were doing this.
Well,
awesome.
Interesting. Of course, this Sunday is Christmas Eve, so we're having our normal Sunday morning 9:00 service, and it's going to be centered around Christmas Eve as well. Of course. And then a couple of people just said, "So why are we not having a Christmas Eve candlelight service?" And I was like, I don't know. And so I just kind of poked it around a little bit. And so I called Buck Dozier, one of our elders, and I said, if we do this, can we be sure we have security? I mean, we want to make sure that we've got people covered. The building can be open. We've got everything taken care of. And I didn't think about it beyond that. And so I started talking with a couple of people. And next thing I know, we're going, let's do one. And then, it's one of those things I told the elders early on. I said, what I don't want to do is have you uninformed or be surprised about something. Well, I forgot to mention it to them until after it was already in the works. I think our IT guy, Todd, had already put out the Facebook post and people were, so I sent him an email and just kind of said, I know this was kind of after the fact. I do apologize, but I mean, so many people are excited that we're going to do a 6:00 candlelight service. And I'm excited about it because I think what we're going to make this is we're going to make this an annual thing. And there's one special thing that I don't want to say on the air because I want it to be a surprise for people that will be kind of the tradition of what becomes the Madison Christmas Eve service, and the way it kicks off and the way it runs. And so I think that will be very, very special for people, and especially those who have a history at Madison and have been there for a while. It'll be a really neat, nostalgic thing for them. But for new people who want to come, I think it'll be a nice tradition to begin their Christmas Eve time with, and something hopefully that they'll come to on a regular basis. Awesome. The other thing that we heard is people are like, well, we always find a Christmas Eve service to go to. And I'm so thrilled that we're finally going to have one at our church. And so, I mean, I hope people will come, but I'm excited about it. Anthony and myself and my youngest son, Max, will be in town, and we're gonna kind of lead that service together and just make it hopefully a special night where people don't have to do a whole lot except show up and participate and just celebrate with us this time of Christmas, the coming of Christ and the beauty of what him coming into the world as a baby means for all of us. So I think it'll be fun. 6:00. Hope it'll be in Bixler Auditorium, which will kind of make it a little more intimate and small and I guess kind of the hope is maybe we outgrow Bixler, maybe even this year, and we have to take it someplace else. I don't know. But we're looking forward to it. So Sunday night candlelight service, 6:00.
we have that flexibility because if we, bust out of Bixler's, we can always go into
That's right.
Into the big auditorium. But it was so funny that you mentioned that, people asking about it because my husband and I were discussing because we've got family stuff going on and all this stuff. And we were unpacking what Christmas Eve looks like. And we were looking at different things. And he goes, why don't we have a Christmas Eve service? And I swear to you, later that day, I get the text on it and I was like, ha ha. Yeah. There you go. We are. And so it was so funny because he asked that question. He grew up Catholic.
Yep.
And so he has a heart for a lot of that type of thing. And there's things that he misses about his youth. And he's like, yeah, we should be doing that. His grandmother, his sweet grandmother, went to church every day.
Really?
Every day. She would walk when she could. But he grew up in a little town of Norway, Michigan, and there was the church down in the heart of the city. And a lot of the times she would walk, and then she would drive, I guess, because it was a big hill. So I guess as she got older, but she was in church every day. She would go to church every day.
Awesome.
And so, I mean, he just he's like, we need to be doing that. And I've come from the CFC background where we can't mention Jesus on Christmas. And you grew up with that
I grew up with that. Absolutely. Oh, and I look at that. I sometimes I used to think that that history kind of made me mad occasionally because I was like, man, we did, but I've come to really appreciate my upbringing and know that, man, they were doing their very best. They had no ill intent for anything. This is what we believe, and we want to be sure that the next generation believes it as well. But the interesting thing is a lot of those same people have also come full circle and know that, wow, yes, maybe we didn't see things exactly right. And part of being in Christ is that we grow and we mature and we see things differently. And so I love my heritage. I love that upbringing, but I also know that it was part of making me who I am. And so I find that interesting. Another member said they were driving down the road and they kept seeing all these other signs, Christmas Eve service, Christmas Eve service. So by the time they got home, they were mad that we weren't having a Christmas Eve service, and saying, I'm mad about this. And then they opened it up on Facebook. We were having one. Like, were they listening to me? I mean, so I do think people are excited about that. And so I'm looking forward to really making it a good tradition and something that we do that becomes part of people's celebration of this time of year. So
well, and it's this. I talk about the Church of Christ background, and I just I grew up that I wasn't allowed to go Christmas caroling because they might sing Silent Night and all this kind of thing, and then I would see Linus come out on the stage on the Peanuts, and there was in the same country Shepherds Abiding in the Field. And it just took me. I was just like that. And I'll never forget the first time at Madison. When I was Frank Scott, Frank.
I know Frank.
Yeah, Frank. He was preaching, and it was at Christmas time, and he preached a Jesus, birth sermon at Christmas. And so I went to him after. I'm like, okay, I'm good with it, but explain to me how we explain it to people. I mean, why is that okay now?
Right.
I grew up in a tradition that we didn't do that, so why is it okay now? And he said, well, he goes, as we've just been studying, he says, we don't want to miss any opportunity. Yep. And he goes, when the world is looking at Jesus at Christmas and we turn away from it, what does that say?
Exactly.
What kind of message does that leave? I was like, yes, I agree with you 100%. And so that gave me that peace because when you're raised with something, you're
absolutely.
Okay. And so, but that just really changed things for me. And I just appreciated so much. And I appreciate so much when he first got to the congregation, guys, he did a whole series about standing on the shoulders of giants. And the thing that you kind of came to is we see things differently when we're standing on their shoulders. We can see things they could not see.
Absolutely.
And so when you see something, you go, oh, look over there. But it's in love. You say, maybe we've missed that. Maybe we need to look at that with this view.
Sure.
And it's not to
Absolutely.
say, well, we got to change it. No, you have a better understanding. That hermeneutical, that big word. I didn't even know that word until like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm serious though, but it does change your perspective.
It does.
When you start understanding things from what was it really like when this was written?
Yep.
Why have we understood it? And so many of us are living within traditions that were established based upon things they did not know at the time. And it was only and it was so influenced by what was going on right there in their space.
Right.
And so I've heard it said, and I don't know that, and you tell me if you've heard this too. This is totally,
Okay.
Todd Hibbs told me this.
All right.
Our media guy. He had said that something he studied about, why do Church of Christ not have instruments? Well, number one, we're not, we love the a cappella worship.
Sure.
I personally don't believe there's a thing wrong with either. I personally, but I'm not going to ask you to commit to that. You're in the pulpit. I'm not going to ask you to, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any problem with it. And Todd said something about, he said that he had heard that a lot of the tradition of the no instruments was because they couldn't afford pianos back at the time, right after the Civil War. It was an impoverished time in this area, and a lot of the foundations in the background of the Church of Christ was like, well, you know what, we can't really afford the instruments, and it doesn't say to use instruments. It says sing and make melody in your heart unto the Lord. So let's do that, and that became kind of written in stone when it was really just what was good for the moment. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of folks who do really good historical writings about where the churches of Christ in the early splits in the early 1900s, and the Christian church taking the instrument and using the piano. And look, I love a cappella music. I've grown up with it. I think it's great. It's my preferable way to worship. I enjoy it. I don't think there's anything wrong with using an instrument. It's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to teach or preach and expect somebody to believe exactly that way. It's just, but I think it's one of those things that you've got to look at it and realize that I don't think nobody has a 100% correct view of Scripture. Yeah. We want to have forgiveness when we have moral error, and everybody's okay with that. And we've struggled with giving some grace when it comes to doctrinal error. Yeah. And I think there has to be some grace there, because you look at some folks and the way people grow and mature and read, and God continues to give wisdom and gives us ways in which we see Scripture. And you got to think too, our current circumstance always impacts how we see Scripture. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid growing up, I can remember people specifically, the unpardonable sin was divorce, marriage, and remarriage. Yeah. And you dealt with that. And by golly, if you got divorced, you were done until divorce hit that person's family. And then that circumstance had them look at that differently and start thinking about grace rather than, okay, this is the right and wrong. And so I do think that when we look at all of these things, we've got to be open to the leading of God's Spirit. And that doesn't mean that we're going to change our minds on something. And I'm not out to change somebody's mind on something like that. I just think that we've got to allow God's grace to be bigger. I have written on the bottom of my sermons right now, and I read this somewhere, and we did a staff meeting, and we kind of use this as our basis, is that God is always already outside the circles we draw and the boundaries we create. Mm-hmm. He's already outside of those, because Isaiah says his ways, his thoughts, they're all higher than us. I mean, he is better than we are in all those aspects. And even when the apostles were trying to draw lines, they were saying, hey, there's people over here doing things that they're not part of our group. Do you want us to bring thunder down on them? Jesus was like, no, don't mess with that. Doesn't matter that they're not in our group. If they're doing things in my name, let them be. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a very healthy way to look at things. We don't have to always agree on things, but if we agree on Christ, mm-hmm. and we can come to a center on how that drives us and motivates us and puts us in life, then I find somebody that I can have a good conversation with, and I can serve together in the name of the kingdom of God.
Amen. Well said, brother. Well said. And we're talking with, this is my my new preacher. This is Michael Ross. He started in August at the Madison Church of Christ. And if you know me, you know I've been there since 1989. That is my family. Yeah, I got crazy cousins up here. But, and he says, you are, this is so cute. Paul Rainey is going, you're our singing preacher. He does sing from the pulpit, son, and that's fun. That is fun.
I do.
And but anyway, but it is just so everything that you just said. I can't say it enough. And if you've never been to a Church of Christ, I tell people, if you've never been to a Church of Christ to hear a cappella singing, you need to come hear it. It's pretty beautiful, and it's an amazing experience. And then my husband is talking about wanting to have a midnight mass.
Okay.
That Catholic boy, and he was coming out.
Okay.
There you go. I don't know if we're ready for that, honey.
He told me he was coming today, so
too late karaoke
all right.
last
Okay.
night. Yeah,
You couldn't get him up. Okay.
We live 2 miles from here.
Okay.
So he might pop in here. I don't know, but Mark was saying he was going to pop in.
He told me he was going to.
So he was like, I'm not getting up early. I don't have to work because we're both school teachers.
Yeah. Oh, so you're out right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But see, I still do radio.
Right.
And because when you've got this in your blood, it's just you just can't give it up, man. There's just something about it.
Right.
I've been doing this a long time, but every now and then I'll drag him in here too with me. But I got to do a couple of commercials.
Go right ahead.
It's 20 till. I got a couple of spots we got to do. We're going to start with Cumberland Connect. This is if you are in the rural areas and you've ever, I was talking about my congressional campaign. One thing that I realized when I was out on the road, I thought I had bad internet. Oh my goodness, there were some folks way worse than me. The connectivity of people in the rural areas has been just astounding. You can't get a phone line. And as the broadband has replaced our phone lines, you've just got to have it. So Cumberland Electric picked up the responsibility and they have gotten us connected. Now there's still, we have to check. I know, I got to turn you mind. I know, Senator Kerry Roberts. He lives up here. Okay.
Yeah,
and he's a dear friend. Well, he's going to be the last one to get connected because they served the underserved first. And so that's been our big joke. All of us that live a little more rural, we got Cumberland Connect. And I mean, we're talking amazing internet speeds that we've not had anything. Well, since he lives right on the edge of town, he was considered better served. And so he's going to be one of the last ones connected. So we know when our senator gets it, pretty much they've got everybody connected.
That's right.
So, but anyway, Cumberland Connect. If you want to see if you're connected, just go to cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code, and it will tell you they're probably already there, guys, because, they're getting close to getting everybody connected. You can call them at 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. And if you need help financially with this, because it's a utility now. They have the Affordable Connectivity Program, and for qualifying households, you could qualify for up to $30 per month for broadband services. And they have programs, they have packages starting at just $30 per month. So go and talk to them today. Cumberland Connect, cumberlandconnect.org is the place to check in. Put your zip code in, and they'll tell you, we're going to come knocking on your door and get you high-speed internet for Christmas. I don't know if they could get you on the schedule this Christmas, this quick with Christmas coming up like Monday, but they could get you connected. But give them a call today. You're going to love working with them. Tell them U-Turn sent you. Michael Ross, my new preacher up at the Madison Church of Christ, is in studio with me, and I appreciate you coming in because I know anytime the folks that are in the community here, they're just 5-10 minutes away. It's no big deal. He had to get up early and make a drive in, so he's bringing it. But we do invite you to our Christmas Eve service and to our Christmas Day service. We'll have stuff going on at our normal service time, which is, are we having Bible class on Sunday?
No, we're not.
I don't think so. We're having just the service at 9.
Yes.
And so we're going to have a Christmas service at 9 a.m. And then you can come back at 6 p.m. And Bixler's Chapel is just a sweet little chapel. It's just so beautiful. One of my children got married in Bixler.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one of my kids got married at Bixler. And so, there's just there's so much history there. And it's just a beautiful place. And we've got we got Chet meeting there, the homeschool program, just so many things going on. Are we still doing the adult education, the Begin Anew?
Yeah, Begin Anew. Absolutely. There. Yes. Yeah. Still one of the sites.
Yeah. It's like with me not being on staff, I miss so much. I'm like, what's going on with this? And, I'm still there, but I'm not there for the meetings. And so I don't get to hear all the meetings and stuff. And so we have we do the GED classes. And of course we have the benevolence program with Pastor Terry. He's a mess. I don't know.
Terry is good.
Love Terry. Nashville police officer that runs the benevolence center. And you need to meet him. He's a character.
He really is.
One of my favorite stories about him. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. This is when I was still full time. We were doing something. There was one of the guys one of the homeless guys, and he was saying that somebody was harassing him. It's just like the police. It's just like this. And just like we're standing there kind of in the edge of the clothing room, and he's just ranting about the police, and he's wanting somebody to give him some money for something or something. And I don't know. And Terry just never, he's just always so kind and loving, never gets upset. And he pulls out and the guy's just ranting on the police. And so Terry's pulling out his wallet, and the guy's thinking, oh, he's going to give me something. And he opens it up, and his badge is right there. And I'm like,
Terry.
And he goes, you policeman? He goes, well, I'm retired. You know, and it was just hysterical. Terry. Oh, I laughed so hard at that, but it was just, we both just giggled about that. He's like, better watch your mouth now. You talking to one. What else do we need to cover, Michael?
Terry is going to be the guest on Stories of Amazing Grace on Wednesday, January the 3rd in Bixler Chapel. So Larry Souter and Stories of Amazing Grace, Terry will be the guest that night. And then that will begin showing, I believe, in February on YouTube as the show for Stories of Amazing Grace. So to get his story and to understand where he's from and kind of his testimony of his life, that will be very much worth your while. If you want to be an in-studio guest, come to Bixler Chapel on the 3rd at 6:30 p.m.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's wonderful they're getting him in there.
Yeah.
Because I know his story, and it's a good one. And if you're not familiar with what Stories of Amazing Grace has been going on, I'd say 5-6 years now. Larry Souter does it, and it was his brainchild. I was one of his first guests, and it was right after. I mean, we don't even talk about it. I'll tell you what got us started with me. One of the it was early on. I had written a blog called "I Wished I'd Been Born a Boy," and it was because I was just a absolute over the moon tomboy. And I said the key word in that blog was wished. I was a tomboy, and then I was allowed to grow up. And it was at the beginning of all this gender stuff. And it concerned me so greatly because if I had been born during this time, they would have very much tried to say, well, you need to do that. I would have been instructed that I needed to probably pursue it. Because I was a tomboy for a very, very long time, and the size I am and all of that. And I wrote a blog, a very short blog. It went big viral, and because it just struck a chord with people, because it was speaking to what a lot of people feel. It's like, can we please let these children grow up and stop trying to, make them something that God's not called them to be? Yeah. What are we doing? The poison that we're giving. And the thing that got me on that, I'll just kind of explain this a little bit. I was at a funeral with my niece, my grandniece, and we had a extended family member that was there with somebody that was confused about their gender. And it was just very obvious. And something was said afterwards, what was the situation there? And she said, oh, it's just that gender trend. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And this was when she was still in high school. And I thought, man, and so I thought I had to tell my story. And so I ended up telling my story on Stories of Amazing Grace, and then just some other stuff about my life. But it was an amazing opportunity just to share that testimony. It is to be our common practice to confess our sins to each other so we can pray for each other so that we can be healed. That's that testimony, because we're all sinners. And the things that we don't intentionally, there's a lot of things that I've done that the mistakes I've made have made me who I am, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Right.
And so we need to be sharing these stories, because when people go, oh, you went through that too? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It just makes them feel that connection. That's one of the big things about Celebrate Recovery is, we very intentionally share those testimonies. Yeah. And it's a game changer. But anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole.
No.
Didn't mean to, but Stories of Amazing Grace. That's what I was trying to say.
Absolutely.
Wednesday night, the first Wednesday night of the month, you hear all kinds of stories. And you can go to his webpage and see all kinds of amazing testimonies and stories of lives that have just been changed through the grace of God.
And that's kind of, when I talked with him about it, that's just the whole thing. Mm-hmm. How grace has changed. What has been the grace of your life, and great stories. I just love all of the different ones. And the great thing about, if you go to the website, I'm not sure what it is. I think it's storiesofamazinggrace.com.
I think so.
That you can watch all of these past versions and get an idea of what it is. And I think it's one of those things that allow us to be real and honest and open in ways that you don't or maybe can't sometimes. Right. This gives you that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And you may never share your story publicly, but you might identify with somebody else's story and say, maybe I want to talk to that person, or wait, maybe I thought there was no hope. There is hope in whatever I'm dealing with. And so I think that is exciting.
But it is storiesofamazinggrace.com. I just pulled it up and it did come
Excellent.
up. And I'll tell you one thing too. The content of that is also shared on the World Christian Broadcast Network.
I forgot about that. Yes, I forgot about that.
The audio of that.
Right.
And so I need to have Larry in here. I
yes,
don't know
you
why
do.
I haven't done that. I've known Larry forever. But I need to reach out and have Larry come in here and just do, kind of unpack that, because it is an amazing show.
It is.
And I love that people don't realize Madison's so cool. We have a soundstage. We do.
We do.
Yeah, Lifeway comes in there all the time, film stuff,
Yep.
and and of course, I love it when Lifeway's there. The energy they bring in. Have you been there for a Lifeway production?
No, but they are doing a week's worth of filming this next year, which is really kind of cool. So
you'll be excited.
Yeah, that'll be some fun stuff. Yeah,
it's fun to watch, and I just love that we have this great sound stage and we have this amazing facility, and we're just like, what do you want to do with it, Lord?
Yep.
And He just keeps bringing all kinds of fun things our way, and just in things that He wants to happen.
Right.
And I think if we just keep praying over it, there's just no telling what's going to go on there. It's a lot of stuff.
And have courage to step out and move. That's the big thing.
Yes.
It's great to have the dreams, but man, got to have the courage and the faith to step out and just go where He's leading. That's always tough sometimes.
How would you tell people to find that courage? Do you have, because you had to step out in courage. We haven't done this. I've got one more ad I've got to do, but we've got about 10 minutes still.
Okay.
Give people your background. Tell people how you got to Madison.
How did I get to Madison?
Because you talk about courage to step out. You guys were in Austin a minute ago.
So I spent 20 plus years in healthcare, and I've done everything from behavioral health to advocacy for mental illness. I've worked with the ARC, the Associated for Retarded Citizens, is what it used to be. I've done project management in hospitals. I've done management development training in large hospitals. I've worked in health insurance on both sides. So I've kind of had this really long healthcare background, and part of that was there was always an opportunity. I did some advocacy at the legislature for healthcare, mental health care. And so I was really good friends with one of the chair of the Health and Human Resource Committee in West Virginia legislature. And so the Affordable Care Act was coming in. He was like, Michael, we're bringing the Affordable Care Act in West Virginia. We're giving this contract to this company. We need connection to the rural health centers. I want you to come do it. And I was like, okay. So I did that for a while. Then I went to Nonprofit Health Insurance, which was a company out of Dayton, Ohio. They were coming into West Virginia. So I've kind of had this long, varied kind of career. And I was working on my master's degree in Ohio Valley College, which is where I got my first 2 years. It's where I met Carrie. It's where our family started. Somebody from the search committee called and said, would you be interested in being the president at Ohio Valley? And I was like, look, I don't have a master's degree yet. I've got, experience and all this. And so the answer short term was, we've hired degrees. And I said, because I don't have the qualifications. So we need somebody with some skill. And so one of the kids that was in my youth group was serving on the board. Long story, within about a 30, 45 day period, I visited, interviewed, and boom, I was, from Thanksgiving to the first of the year, I started at OVC. Well, OVU, Ohio Valley University, very dear to my heart, but had struggled financially for years. And one of the things I had done is I'd worked in nonprofit, kind of helped turn around or say, maybe you don't need to turn around. So I was kind of in that weird situation. And so we were on a good track. The pandemic hits. And the pandemic, if it's going to hit, it's going to hit. And when it hit a small nonprofit, Christian university that was somewhat struggling anyway, boom, that was just kind of like the final stage of that. And while, I kind of have the moniker that I closed the school, I didn't close the school. I recommended to the board of trustees that we really can't do this anymore. If we want to be good stewards of what God has given us and what has a great history of really providing Christian higher education to a lot of people who may have never gotten it, we can stand on that history and we can be proud of who we are and do the right thing into the future. So I made that recommendation, and it did close in the fall of 21, in December. And then I had made some friends at Lipscomb and Freed Hardeman and Harding and Oklahoma, all of our other schools. Well, Lipscomb had acquired the Austin Grad School of Theology in Austin, Texas, and so I was looking at opportunities and things, and some folks there, Matt Payton and Brian. What's Brian's last name? He's it'll hit me after I leave here.
Yeah.
But Brian said, they were like, "Would you like to go to Austin?" Well, so I interviewed with Dr. McQueen and with Dr. Bledsoe. Next thing I know, I'm somewhat commuting to Austin from April to July. I commute back and forth between West Virginia and Austin. We actually move in July. And same thing. I mean, you're dealing with how do you take a place that had been struggling, Christian higher education, in a place that's it's all changing. And so Lipscomb decided, the board decided in November of that year to close that campus. So I finished out through the end of the school year, actually through June, and I don't know, a cappella with Anthony Lancaster. They came to Westover Church. This is really just weird stuff.
How God
so
does this.
So they show up, and I, my dad went to school with Keith, and so my dad and Keith knew each other. I'd never met Anthony, and so we just kind of connected there. And I was like, hey, I've heard, that Madison's looking for a minister. I don't really know what our plans are. Next thing you know, Marty Rothschild's calling one of the elders. Again, long story short, here we are. This was in May, and by August, we're packing everything up in Austin, and we're moving to Nashville. It was really kind of cool because Carrie has 3 brothers here, so it brought us closer to family, closer to our family in West Virginia. We loved Austin. Austin was great, and if things had worked out, we would have stayed. But one of those things for us is family, and I've mentioned that several times. And so being 17 hours away from the closest family member probably wasn't the best thing for us, but it worked out, and we had a great year. And the weird thing, my daughter, who was a senior in high school, which we really struggled with moving her, had probably the very best year of school ever in Austin, Texas. So again, great how things work out, and God just has to continue to work. But yeah, long story. But now here we are in outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
So I just felt like we kind of needed to unpack that for folks, and even in the congregation that because Madison's a big place, and so there's a lot of people. There are little bits and pieces, but there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There's unpacked for you, and just that part where you're talking about how you've got to be able to step out and encourage. Y'all have done it, because you had to. Yeah. And it's like you have been the example of it. Yeah. I love this. Michael Ross is our new preacher. We're going to I knew we were going to run out of time before I got everything covered.
That's all right.
Let me go ahead and do our last break here, and then we're going to come back and wrap it up. And we'll just invite everybody to this weekend.
Absolutely.
And I'll invite you to come back anytime.
Okay.
This is fun. And we're going to get Larry in here. We got to get Larry Souter.
Larry Souter will be good.
Folks in.
Yes.
But I'm going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Folks, if you're looking for help in real estate, how about some folks that know Robertson County better than anybody that you can possibly know, because they are Robertson Countyans. They are up in Cross Plains, call them Cross Plainians. They've been there like 28 years. But they specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. And I love their background because they came out of different backgrounds. Rebecca's been at this now 17 plus years, but she came out of a radiology background, saw the opportunities in real estate. And she goes, I think I want to do that. And it has been a game changer for her. She's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. She is a specialist at what she does. She's one of the agents up in White House. You can give her a call at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. And then she's got her husband, Barry, who is the broker here in Springfield, has an office right here in the downtown square, and he has a marketing background for 17 plus years. He was a vice president of a media marketing company in Nashville, and he went to work with real estate, and he brings his expertise from everything to do with videography and photography and drone footage, walkthrough tours. He's the whole package, and he wants to bring the whole package to you with Exit Realty Garden Gate team. If you have questions, reach out to them. Just Google them, Barry Richards or Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate team. sellwithbecky.com or buy, B-U-Y, RobertsonCounty.com. And that number again for Rebecca, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. And please always let them know that you told me sent you, talking with my new preacher, Michael Ross, on the way out of the show this morning. Why don't you tell us again what all was going on Sunday?
What else going on Sunday? 9 o'clock is our Christmas Eve service, and it's somewhat of an extended service, a little bit different look. The stage right now looks like a family room with a sofa and a chair, and then so it'll be a nice, just laid back, but also very reverent time together as we remember, the birth of Christ and how that impacts our lives. But we're also going to have some fun as a family. It's also Christmas Sweater Sunday, so if you come, wear your the ugly Christmas sweater, your family Christmas sweater, whatever you want to do, come dress festive. So that's at 9 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock Sunday evening, we'll have a special candlelight service around the Christmas Eve and the birth of Christ, and as well, we'll bring in a little bit of the fun of the holidays.
I love it. I love it. It's wonderful, and we appreciate it so much, you being here and all the things that you bring to it. Lee Marie is sending me a late little message. Anyway, Lee Marie's one of the other hosts here.
Oh, okay.
She's me all of a sudden.
Okay.
And she's one of our hosts here and helps me produce this show.
Got it.
So she's giving me all
the
right. Notes. Michael Ross again, Madison Church of Christ. And now normal service. Unpack the normal. We unpacked what happens Christmas.
Sure.
What's going on the rest of the time? Like, when can they come? Tell them about Wednesday night
Sure.
and all that. Okay.
So normal is we have service every Sunday at 9 a.m. and then we have Bible study at 10:15. Everything for nursery all the way up to. If you feel like you have to walk into a classroom in your walker, we'll do that too. We've got you covered. Yeah. And then there are some special things that happen sometimes on Sundays with our youth and other things, and so those are all going to be on a schedule. We're getting ready to produce the schedule and throw that out for the year. And then on Wednesdays, we've been doing what we call coffee and conversation, which is just a time to come together. And it seems like food always brings people out. And so you have some conversation and you get to know people. And we're actually beginning for the first 3 months of this January, February, and March, we're doing kind of a revamp of our life groups, getting people connected in ways that we talked about this family, that how do you get by when you don't have that? Well, this is how we're going to connect people, that you've got ups, downs, all the things that go on in life, connect you to a life group. We also have Celebrate Recovery every Wednesday at 6:30. So there's all kinds of opportunities to be involved. And so look on our webpage, MadisonChurchTN.org, and click the calendar and you'll see all those things on there.
MadisonChurchTN.org is our webpage. Madison TN Church. Say it again.
MadisonChurchTN.org.
I always mess it up. Michael Robinson, thank you, sir.
Tink you.
Appreciate you, brother.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you guys for joining us. Hey, Monday is Christmas, so guess what? I will not be in here. Y'all have a wonderful Christmas. Be a part of worship somewhere on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Find a congregation to plug into and let this be the start of something beautiful in your life. God bless. Have a wonderful day. This is